Welcome to ADHD-Friendly. I'm Patty Blinderman. I am an ADHD coach with a passion for tilting that playing field in favor of ADHD brain wiring, so we are thriving with our brains. This is episode 133. What? I'm like 133. 133. Welcome. And as always today, I'm actually going to tie them together today. I'm going to share a celebration and tie it to a tool because my celebration is related to a tool that I used to support my travel. And our topic for this week is, do you have a favorite child? I might. This is because Mother's Day is this Sunday, and I just, I've shared in a previous episode my feelings about Mother's Day. I'll get into that in a minute, but let's back up and start with the celebration. So my celebration and my tip for this week are tied. The tip is travel with a weekly planner. So I shared, I just got back from my traveling. I went to see my kids. Maybe one of them was a favorite. And my sister in North Carolina. And I was traveling from Chicago, where the weather was still very winter-like.
Yes.
And then had to look at Asheville weather, which was one location I was going to. And the weather was rainy and cool, but not cold, but cool enough that I could kind of wear what I'm already wearing. Sure. But then I look at Raleigh weather. And one day it was 89 degrees. And so packing for the kind of ups and downs and only wanting to bring my carry-on and not pay for a checked bag, and how will I fit the attire I need so that I'm comfortable wherever I am, and shoes take up so much space. So all of these things in mind, I made it visible, external, and concrete, what I call VEC, VEC. It's my favorite easy hack to support my brain. And I did this with my weekly planner from my ADHD-Friendly planner. So if you are listening to this, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, ADHD-Friendly, where you can see all of the examples I'm going to be sharing visually. As you know, very visual.
Yes.
This is my visual external concrete tool. I wrote the dates of my travel. So I started on a Tuesday, which was April 9th, went all the way through, and I draw a little squiggly line here to indicate I came back on Monday. So for me, that just breaks up the week visually. So I know starting here, and then I wrap around, and the last day of my trip was on a Monday. That really threw me, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
But I wrote down on the top of each the weather for where I was traveling, where I was going to be, and whether or not it was a travel day, which was really key, because if I'm getting on an airplane, I need to think about my shoes. I need to think about if it's cool on the plane, or I'm leaving from a warm place going to a cool place.
Your comfort level.
Need to take it all in my brain. It takes an enormous amount of working memory. It takes a lot of decisions, and our brains do not hold on to the decisions that we made easily. So what I know is I might decide, oh, I'll wear this and I'll do this and I'll pack this. And then I'll get there and open my bag and be like, what was I thinking? Why did I decide this? Or what did I think I was going to wear? Because I was also, even though I was traveling, I work remotely. So I was meeting with all of my clients and doing my membership sessions. So I had to make sure I was packing things I could wear that looked somewhat professional. So I then took my little favorite tool, which is my little transparent Post-it stickies, not name brand Post-it, generic Post-it. And then I say that because if you look at Post-its, you won't be able to find these.
Oh, yeah.
I don't believe it's something Post-it sells. And I literally wrote down what I'll wear each day. And having those on here was I couldn't believe how many times I looked at this, like literally multiple times a day, to remind myself, what am I doing? What was I going to wear?
Yeah.
What do I need? It was such a support that I've done this in the past, but I think because I was going to different places and the weather was so different while I was traveling, I was surprised at how much more I needed it than I even typically do. So I was very grateful that I took the time. Yes, it took time to write it all out,
to plan it out.
Right? Look at the extended forecast, write it on my sheet, think about, as I was packing, what I was going to wear each day. But once I made the decision, I had it on my weekly planner. And then it was just a matter of going back and looking at it. And one quick hack, if you don't want to take the physical sheet, or you're afraid you're going to leave it, because I did go to multiple places, I easily could have left it behind. I did take a picture. So it's in my camera roll if I needed to pull it up because I couldn't find it. That wasn't something I needed, but I do use that as a backup. So what I would say is, when we use weekly planners to support our travel, It can also support our time. So this one I just am sharing with the weather and what I'm wearing, but I had them fully filled. My actual sheet.
Yeah, was
I didn't want
filled
to,
out.
get you all like, there's so much clutter, but I did have it filled in with my schedule, with where I was going to be, so I could see it all on one page. I'm a one pager fan. And so what it did was support my working memory and help me remember my decisions. It saved my energy because I was making less mistakes. And I wasn't reworking, meaning I didn't have to make those decisions over because I forgot what I had already decided. It was easy for me to use, easy for me to see. I left it on a little table that was in the room I was staying in both places. And I just use it so much more than I was expecting. So that's why I'm really highlighting this tool here, even 2 weeks after my trip, because it just supported my brain so much. So when you think about making things VEC, visible, external, concrete, what one thing would you make visible, external, and concrete that would support you to thrive with more ease? All right. And Becca, I almost went right past, forgetting, usually we start off with the subscriber.
Yeah.
So sorry, new subscribers. Welcome.
Welcome.
So we went up and down, but,
All
but
right.
the nice thing is it's only going to reflect the up
Yeah.
because we only do it once a week. So yesterday we were at 820,
Yes.
but somebody decided not for them and
right.
unsubscribe, and that's okay.
All good.
That's okay,
All
because you're not
good.
even hearing me say this probably. But I'm happy that you subscribed for whatever amount of time you did. And
Yeah.
the number for today at this moment is 819.
Woo!
19 new subscribers this week. Welcome, welcome,
guys.
welcome. Thanks so much for taking the time to hit that subscribe button. We're so glad you're here. All right, so a quick break with a word from our sponsor, which is ADHD-Friendly. All right, so hi, I'm Patty, and I am the creator and force, if you will, behind, that sounds so, anyway, behind ADHD-Friendly. And today I just want to share what's coming up in the month of May for members of ADHD-Friendly. So if you decide that you want to give it a go, you can cancel anytime. And I just want to support people who are looking to thrive with ADHD with more ease. So today, May 8th at 12 Eastern, all of my events are at 12 Eastern. So you don't have to worry about, oh, what time is it today? It's always at 12 Eastern. Just calculate it back for whatever time it is in your time zone. And that's the time. If there's an event that day, that's what time it is. I try to keep it really simple. So today I have a power hour body double. And that means I give you a little bit of information to help you move forward in a specific area. And then we spend the rest of the time body doubling. So today we're going to talk about phone apps. We're going to get them organized. We're going to clean them out, maybe delete some that you don't want to use. And we're going to do it together. So at the end of that hour, you will hopefully have a phone or a computer screen with less apps, or more intentionally organized, prioritized, so that the ones that you use most are the ones you most easily are seeing and accessing, so that it's reducing fatigue. So we're going to focus on phone apps and computer apps today. On Friday, same time, 12 Eastern, we're going to do another power hour body double on personal owner's manuals. We typically do one of these every month to help you to either start your personal owner's manual or to continue adding to and connecting with your personal owner's manual. And then later this month on May 15th, we're doing another power hour body double to clean up your email inbox. If your email inbox is exploding, like so many of us struggle with, we're just going to spend an hour starting to whittle it down. And then the following Wednesday on the 22nd, another power hour body double. This is a big month. We're kind of doing digital spring cleaning. We're going to work on digital photos. Guys, this is such an area I could do an hour every month on this forever, just to keep up to date with the pictures I take. Because I'll take 12 pictures and then I don't go back and think, what's my favorite one? I just have to scroll through all of them. It's just so fatiguing. So we're going to focus on that. And then at the end of the month, we're going to have 2 planning sessions where we plan along step by step. I build in time for you to do it with me, so that at the end of the hour, you'll have either your week planned, which will be on May 24th, or your month planned, which will be on May 31st. I walk you through my step-by-step process, and you'll have access to the ADHD-friendly planning tools because they're included in the membership. So if this sounds like something that would help you, I invite you to check out ADHDfriendly.com for the membership, and hope to see you there soon. All right, now back to the program. My topic this week, Becca, do you have a favorite child? So Sunday, it's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I talked about a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, episode 29. I talked about my personal dislike for Mother's Day, where if it's important to you and your family, That's fabulous. I just always struggled to remember my own mother. Like I had one mother, but I struggled to remember her on Mother's Day. And I wanted to acknowledge that for my kids, because it just felt like a kind of an arbitrary date that somebody decided, and then everybody kind of jumped on the bandwagon to sell flowers and cards and chocolate and whatever. And I told my kids, about how they didn't need to feel obligated to do anything for me on that specific day.
Yeah.
Because I don't like that arbitrary kind of thing to it. So I invite you to check out that episode if you want to hear my thoughts on that further. But I was kind of motivated to come back and revisit this topic with a different lens. And that is, do you have a favorite child? And this is from a BBC article where I'm going to quote a couple of different people here, but I'm going to start with a quote from Jessica Griffen, who is the Associate Professor of Psychiatry at UMass Medical School. And she says that parents may not readily admit to having a favorite, but they certainly won't be alone if they find themselves feeling closer to one child over another. And so a UK study shows that while only 10% admit to having a favorite child, up to 74% of mothers and 70% of fathers exhibit preferential treatment towards one child. So if you're an only child, you're the favorite child. So this is really just kind of identifying families with 2 or more kids. So another interesting statistic, what number, you're twin?
Yeah.
But are you the youngest of?
No, I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. Okay, so this doesn't apply to you. Sorry.
All good.
Sorry, that's my assistant Becca. But if you're the youngest, they are often the favorite. 62% of parents prefer the youngest if they're going to have a favorite. So, not that I was my parents' favorite, but
anything.
So I got this shirt in honor of this episode because I knew I was going to be talking about this. And I literally showed each of my kids and I said, who do you think got me my shirt? And what I found was actually really funny, because it was unintended, was they have different views based on who they think would buy me a shirt saying that they're my favorite child. And it really does lend into what I'm going to talk about in terms of whether or not you do have a favorite child, how that might show up and what you might want to consider. Again, this is ADHD friendly, guys. Take what works for you, leave the rest behind. I'm just sharing some information and then shining an ADHD friendly lens on it to help us explore if this is something that you notice or something that might be getting in your way with the relationship that you want to have with your child or children, just to understand a little bit more. So it's apparently very common. But the other thing that was shared in this article was that parents tend to favor a child that is most like them. Not surprising, right? That's kind of how we pick our friends too. It's like, oh, you
common interests.
Right. We're not typically drawn to people that are the exact polar opposite and do things that we don't have an interest in. They also tend to favor a child that reminds them of themselves.
Oh.
Or that represents what they view as a success in parenting. So if you have a child that kind of makes you feel like, yeah,
I did that.
I'm feeling good about how this one's, kind of representing me, parenting them into the world. So when kids are asked this question, though, if parents have a favorite, studies show that 4 out of 5 claimed that their sibling was favored over them. So most kids do not think that they are the favorite. They think that their sibling is a favorite. And when children identified the favorite child, they were wrong over 60% of the time. So you might, the kid, if you're listening to this and you think that you know who your parents' favorite were, now this is not counting parents that come right out and say, this one's my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Right. That's a whole different challenge and issue. They went into it a little bit. And I'm just going to hit on that really briefly here. They said to keep in mind, though parents often do have a favorite, showing a preference can have a long-lasting impact on their child's sense of self-worth. So if you are intentionally or unabashedly just saying, yeah, this one's my favorite. And I always think of the movie Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix, where when he was little and and if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, but when he was little and his older brother got killed in the saw cutting thing, and the father said the wrong one died. And I just thought, oh my gosh, how do you ever come back from that? Like, that's just
such a rough.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so, and so that's what I was thinking about when I read this. I was like, okay, if you have a clear favorite, that might be something to explore in another realm. I'm talking about in this podcast kind of lens and scope, really when we might have a favorite, and this is what I think about. Do I have a favorite? Yes. It's not one favorite though. I have 4 kids, and each of them I have a favorite thing or a favorite reason that I'm close to them, and it's different for all of them.
I love
And
that.
I've always felt that way. And I
Yeah.
felt the same way when I honestly can't tell you, even though I'm the youngest, and maybe according to research,
Right.
studies, I might have been the favorite for my mom and dad. We will never know. They're both gone now. So, but they clearly never said one of us were the
Right.
favorite. And I always appreciated that. I literally could think of reasons all through my childhood. I think this is a very common thing for kids to think about is who's mom or dad's favorite? Who are my parents
Yeah.
or guardians' favorite kid?
Totally.
And I think that depending on the lens we're looking, and again, this is not parents that are coming out and saying it, this is just when we're trying to figure it out. I remember when my kids were younger, some of my kids thought one of my kids was the favorite because they needed me more. And so I spent more time because they were struggling.
Yeah.
And I was like, how interesting, because at that time, that was really a challenging time. So it wasn't something that I was feeling this close bond. It was something that was taking a lot of my time because the need was there, not because it was a pleasurable thing. It was an area of struggle. But I understand that perspective, but it was really helpful for me to hear that. And so when you think about whether or not this is true for you, the thing that this is another person quoted in the article, and I'm going to totally butcher this name. I apologize in advance. You guys know I struggle with name pronunciations. We should do a whole bloopers clip of me trying to pronounce names. So it's Dr. Vijayeti, Sinh, S-I-N-H, clinical psychologist at Mount Sinai Hospital in New York City, was quoted as saying, when parents are mindful and thoughtful to ensure any feelings of closeness or likability factor aren't plain and clear, then children don't feel unworthy of the parents' love and support. So again, we're not making this, you're my favorite, you're not. Sorry. That's immediately excluding and making somebody feel diminished and less than and not worthy of. And so if we're not if we're being very mindful and intentional about not identifying a preference for one over another, then children, he said, don't feel unworthy of the parents' love and support. So I think that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So Griffen also said, going back to the original person quoted in this BBC article, he said, the important thing to remember is that having a favorite child does not mean that you love the other children less. So I have 4 kids. I have 3 dogs. I have favorite kids. I have favorite dogs. But they're not the favorite for the same reason. And they're all favorites in different areas.
Yeah, different
So,
ways.
for example, one of them I love to shop with. I like to talk about books with. I like to talk about dogs with. Another one I like to go on walks with. I like to bake with. And I like to volunteer with. Another, I like to talk about movies and music. I like to knit for this person because they're just so appreciative of when I make them things. So it just makes me want to knit them more. And I like to travel with some. I like to talk to another one about sports and go to them as like a sports reference because they're like sports experts. I like to talk about action movies. I like to body double with to get things done because it works for both of us. And I like to shop. It's interesting. Each of my kids, I can tell you I like to shop with, but for different things. Like one kid I like to go to estate sales with. Another kid I like to shop for clothes with, but they're not the same person. So I have activities that I love to do with different kids, or I like to experience different things with my kids, but it varies based on their interests and their likes. And so I have favorites for lots of different things. I have favorite kids that, they're really thoughtful and give thoughtful gifts, which is why I thought this was like a funny thing that I bought this for myself. I just thought it was funny. And I really thought it was funny how my kids told me who they thought based on what they know about kids who either think they're my favorite or
do they know now that you bought the shirt?
No, I never told them. No, but now if they then I'll know if they watch my episode. No, I just asked who they thought bought it, and it was just so interesting, very illuminating. Just to be like, who do you think got me my shirt? So it was a fun little experiment. So I invite you in this episode to think about, if you do have a favorite child, is it favorite overall, or is it favorite in different areas? And look for those things in the other child or kids that you also have favorite things with, because I guarantee you there are aspects of all of our kids that we can have favorite things with if we're looking for them. Think about what you appreciate most about each child. Are there specific activities or interests that you share with each one? What qualities do you admire in them? So there might be a child that's not like you. So maybe you guys get on each other's nerves, but there might be qualities that they have that you really do appreciate, that if you're looking at them through that lens more, it builds that connection in a stronger way. What are some specific memorable moments for each of your kids? I used to keep, when my kids were younger, much more intentionally than I do now, because they were saying more funny things, as they were growing up. But I had books for each of my kids that I could write down the little funny things that they would do. And I love going back and reading them even today, because it just puts me back. And I'm so grateful that I did that, because I don't remember half the time when I read it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally would have never remembered this.
That they said
And so
that.
but it also showed the unique senses of humor that each of them had. Because I think some of my kids are more classically funny, and other kids are more dry and have kind of a backdoor, like you get it later and like, oh my gosh, that was so clever, but I had to think about it more. And so, just thinking about those specific memorable moments for each can help you to identify some favorites. How do you balance your time and attention among your children? We used to do first weekend, because again, 4 kids, it was really hard to have time by ourselves with them, where we divide up typically like boys and girls. So for example, if it was for May, the first weekend of May might be my weekend with the boys, and I would try to do something with each boy individually, and then my husband would have the girls and he would do something with each individually. And then the following month we would switch. So I would do something with each girl individually, and he would do, and it was only once a month, but it was better than nothing, which is what we were doing before then without any real structure. We would kind of randomly spend time with kids, but it really wasn't with any structure or intentionality. So it really helped us to at least have once a month that we knew we were planning like a little adventure. It might just be a library outing with one kid, but it was just the 2 of us, and it did feel more meaningful. How can you strengthen your relationships and your communication with them? What works in your family? And, I'm a huge fan of personal owner's manuals, but I'm also a fan of family owner's manuals. So meaning what works for your family, and how do you remember and capture it so you can keep using it to strengthen your family? So I'm like, that's not it. I'm like, that's it for my topic. I put everything else down. You guys, I'm such a creature of habit. All right. So that was it for, do you have a favorite child? And I hope it gave you a way to think about favorite children in a new way. So my book of the week for this week.
Okay.
Not a great picture of her, I'm sure. But it's called The Secret Life of Sunflowers. I learned about this just from doing a search for other books. I have now read probably 4 or 5 books about specific works of art or specific paintings. This is about Vincent van Gogh's sister-in-law. So it's historical fiction, but it is based on her life and her experiences when her husband and Vincent, I don't want to do a spoiler. Something happens, and she is kind of the one that takes over Vincent van Gogh's paintings. And when he passed away, which I really forgot about, I took art history in college, but I forgot this detail. He was completely unknown. Like, he was really not anybody. She couldn't even sell the pictures, the paintings. So she kind of made it her life mission to get them recognized and acknowledged for the works of art that we now know them to be. So I found it really fast read, really interesting. It's what I love about historical fiction, is it's written as a novel, but it has like the historical points that are true. So this is by Marta Molnar, Molnar. But you to check it out if this kind of book interests you. It makes me want to go get a sunflowers painting and hang it up, because it was just the way that they described the yellows. I was just like, and I love yellow, so I was like, oh my gosh, I want that. So that was my book of the week. Now for the quote of the week. This is from Dave Willis. I don't know who Dave is. Sometimes I get nervous quoting people. I don't know who they are, because I'm like, I hope this isn't somebody that has done evil in the world. But I couldn't find anything on my quick thing. But I have to say, I liked his quote about, do you have a favorite child, our theme for this week. So he said, there are no perfect parents and there are no perfect children, but there are plenty of perfect moments along the way.
Oh, that's sweet.
So Dave, I don't know if you're a good person, but that was a good quote.
Thanks, Dave.
And hopefully you're a good person to feel that way about parents and kids, and it had a positive feel.
Oh yeah. All
right. So as a quick recap, I talked about how to take a weekly planner and use it to support you when you're traveling. I know I've taught about this before when I did the cruise podcast and how I used it, but I just love the idea of tapping into making decisions once so that you don't have to keep making them by looking at the weather and planning out what you're going to wear. And then you just get there and you just follow the layout of the plan that you made. And then if you do have a favorite child, or you have strategies to help support you in managing that and making it work for your family, episode 133, I would love to hear any strategies that have worked for you, or any thoughts that were sparkly for you that you're interested in trying that came out of this episode. That's it for this week. If you haven't visited my website yet, I invite you to check out ADHD-Friendly.com for lots of resources to help you to thrive with ADHD. Remember, take what works for you, leave the rest behind. Until next week, tally ho.